Welcome back, everybody. In this video, I want to start by describing a common problem. It's one that you've probably experienced yourself. You spend a bunch of time learning a language, you learn a bunch of grammar rules, you memorize a bunch of new words, and then you get into a real-life conversation with someone, and none of it comes out the way that you learned it. Maybe you remember little bits and pieces, but it just doesn't seem to flow naturally. It doesn't work in the same way that your native language just kind of works, right? So, our first rule, learning words in stories, and our second rule, learning words in phrases, these rules are going to help you with this because they'll make it easier for your brain to make the connection from something you learned to a real-life situation. But those two rules are not enough, okay? The fact is that there is just a big difference between something that you learn in your head and something that you learn by heart through real experience in a real-life situation, okay? So if you want to learn your words by heart, you have to use them. So imagine that you're learning how to swim. You read books about water. You read books about swimming. You watch videos about swimming. You watch videos about how to move your arms and how to breathe and how to kick your legs and how the water is going to feel, but you never actually touch the water. And you do this for a year, okay? And then the big day finally comes. It's time to jump in the water. It's time to learn to swim. So you put all your knowledge to the test and you dive in, and it doesn't work. You don't know what you're doing. You're thrashing around. You didn't expect what the water was going to feel like. You have no idea how to move your arms. None of it feels natural to you, right? So you manage to drag yourself back to shore, and you think, I don't know how to swim at all. I don't know what I'm doing at all. So what do? You go back to the books and you study harder. You learn and read more about swimming. You watch more videos about swimming. I'm joking, of course. This is ridiculous. But it's exactly what people do when they learn languages. Most people who are learning languages spend way more time listening and reading and studying grammar and memorizing words. They spend way more time doing that stuff than using their language in a real life situation. So if we want to learn to swim, we have to jump in the water. We have to feel the feeling of water with our body. We have to experience the feeling of being in the water. That's because swimming is a skill, right? Well, language is also a skill. It's learned through experience, okay? In school, you probably learned language in the same way that you learned history and geography, okay? These subjects are usually taught as a collection of information, a bunch of grammar rules that you have to remember, a list of words that you have to remember. And then we study this stuff and we memorize it, and then we write it down onto a test. And then after the test, we forget everything. And we're never able to really use any of it in a real life situation, right? You have to understand something. Reading about swimming is not the same as jumping in the water and learning to swim, okay? Reading about food is not the same as taking a bite of a sandwich. Studying grammar and memorizing words is not the same as learning the skill of using a language. So you have to ask yourself this question. Do you want to learn the skill of taking tests and memorizing information in your head? Or do you want to learn the skill of using language and becoming fluent? Okay? if you want to become fluent and use your language, you have to use everything that you learn in real situations. So let me tell you a story. When I was in my 20s, some friends and I took a trip to Montreal in Quebec, Canada. So they speak French there. Now, I wasn't worried at all. I had taken French for 15 years in school. My French was very good, all right? So I figured, I'll be able to talk to native speakers, practice my French, maybe impress people, right? And it didn't work out that way. I'm sure you can guess. When I got there and I started using my French, I was terrible. It sucked. I was really embarrassed. I couldn't think of words. I couldn't string words together. I couldn't do anything. I sounded like a beginner. And the worst part was, in my room, like if I was in a comfortable place, I could remember things. I could put things together. But in a real life situation, I sounded like I had been learning French for 2 days. So I was upset by it. And what was the reason? Well, I realized I had been learning French in school and memorizing words and learning grammar, but I hadn't been practicing it in real situations at all. I hadn't been practicing this skill of speaking French at all. Now, I didn't get discouraged. We were in Montreal for a few weeks, so eventually it got better. As I kept at it, kept going, kept trying, I got better at it. So I want to give you a little example of an interaction that I had in Montreal at a restaurant and show you a little bit about why using your language helps so much. Take a look at this. So, again, this is at a restaurant. You can see me, John, says, I have this translated into English, by the way, of course. Could I eat the, and I forgot the word, I was pointing at the menu. The server said, the pasta. And I said, yeah, the pasta. Could I eat the pasta? The server said, yeah, you can have the pasta. And I thought, have the pasta. You don't eat the pasta, you have the pasta. Yes, could I have the pasta, please? Right? Do you see what happened here? It's wonderful. The server helped me remember the word pasta, the French word for pasta, in context at the restaurant, so I would remember it easily. And in that interaction, by messing up and making that mistake, I learned firsthand, through experience, the correct phrase for ordering food. Could I have the pasta, please? Right? It was like I was learning how to swim. So, after a few weeks of Montreal and using my French, I got much better at it, but I never forgot that lesson. You really have to use this skill if you want to be good at it. I get it, going into a situation with a native speaker in a real life situation is scary. It's nerve-wracking, and people think they're not ready. And it's not just you. Everybody says this. Everybody says, I don't feel ready, I don't feel prepared, right? It's just a problem that adults have. We learn something new, we try to do it, we fail at it, and then we conclude something about ourselves. We think, I'm not ready, I have to prepare more. And then we start studying more, learning more about it to try to make it so that we don't have to do that difficult, scary thing, right? We want to be good at it before we try. It doesn't work that way. Okay, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I see this all the time at the school where I teach. People have these long lists of grammar, these notebooks full of grammar rules, long lists of vocabulary, and they never use them, ever, because they don't feel like they're ready yet. They feel like they need to prepare more and prepare more. And the worst part of this is that the more you prepare and prepare, the worse it gets, because you're filling your head with all this information that you have to keep straight, right? The more stuff you learn, the more worried you're going to be about making mistakes, right? So these people think, if I prepare and prepare, then one day, boom, I'm going to be able to use all my stuff. And it does not work that way, unfortunately. But the good news is you don't have to do that. You don't have to prepare. Trust me, if you're learning a language, you are ready right now to go out and start using it. Even if you know 3 sentences or 5 words, you're ready to start using it and start practicing that stuff and start making mistakes. There's no way to avoid making mistakes. You're going to mess up, just like I messed up in Montreal. Messing up and making a mistake is what helps us learn. That's how we learn that we're not doing the right thing and we need to kind of fix it. So you just have to do this. But you are ready. You don't have to worry about it. And making mistakes is the best thing you can do to learn. Okay guys, so here's my final advice for you. If you want to learn your new words well and you want to use them, it's rule number 3, use your words, okay? Language is a skill. Just like learning an instrument or learning to play a sport or learning to swim, you have to practice it in the same way that you're going to use it. So you have to practice it in real situations, okay? My second tip is you are ready. You're ready to do this. Don't worry. You don't have to prepare more or study more. Go for it, okay? Make some mistakes. Don't worry about mistakes. Mistakes are the way that you learn, so mistakes are good. And my last tip is don't just dive in to the deep end, okay? Practice on purpose. You don't have to go crazy and jump into a social situation. That will be very difficult. Choose some words and expressions that you want to practice on purpose and try using them. Take them for a spin. Practice them with your friends. Practice. If you know some vocabulary for using in a restaurant, go to a restaurant and make a point of trying it out. This stuff is going to lead to you becoming more fluent, and it's going to make it so much easier, honestly, to learn new words and learn new language when you're not so worried about memorizing everything. It's going to take the pressure off of you a little bit too when you start doing this. So that's it for our series, Learn New Words by Heart. Let's go over our rules one more time. Our first rule, do you remember what it was? Learn words from stories. And by stories, we mean books, magazines, movies, TV, podcasts, real life situations, right? Anything where there's lots of emotion and context to help your brain really understand the meaning of that word or expression and how it relates to the situation, right? So you want to learn your words from stories. Our second rule was learn words in phrases. When you write down your word or your expression, record the full phrase, okay? This will make it so much easier to remember the meaning and remember the story and the emotions behind it, right? And it'll help you learn a little bit of grammar and usage too. And our third rule, this is our most important rule: use your words, use your language. Don't worry about making mistakes. Language is a skill. You have to go out and practice it if you want to get good at it, okay? You're ready to do this. I believe in you guys. I know you can do it. If you like this video, feel free to share it. Feel free to subscribe. And feel free to leave a comment as well or ask any questions. I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I'll see you soon.